Hey guys, this is Paul Salvette in Bangkok. This is the Smashwords formatting guide, quick and dirty method part two. What we did in the first part is we took our original Word document, we brought it over to a text editor to strip away all the formatting, and then we put it into a clean Microsoft Word document. And right now, what you're probably looking at is everything is in the base font and style definition for Word. So, I mean, all the paragraphs are all properly cleaned up and wrapped around each other, but we want to fix this up to make it look pretty. So, the first thing we got to do is we got to put the fancy special characters that the readers like, and we got to make sure that they're in Microsoft Word. Now, the fancy characters, what I'm talking about is like the curled quotes, the curled single quotes, the em dashes, and the ellipses and things like that. So what we're going to do is we already set our auto formatting options. We're going to hit Control H for find and replace. And we're going to replace just a straight up and down double quote with a straight up and down double quote and replace all. And what that's going to do, that's going to force the document to have these the fancy quotes. And we're going to do the same thing for single quotes. Okay. Next thing we want to do is we want to make sure we got the right em dashes. And what you can do, you can go on my website and you can copy the special character for em dash. Okay, so I just replaced two minus signs with like a proper em dash. I'm going to replace all there. Now, I like for the hyphens, I like the fancy longer line. It's just slightly longer. It's a special character. I'm going to add that in too, just because the readers seem to like that, and we want to give the customers our 100%. There we go. Next thing we want to do, we want to replace the ellipsis. The ellipsis. Now I just put in three dots, but if you hit Control Alt period, there we go. If you hit Control Alt period, that'll put in the special character for ellipsis, and we're going to replace all with that. All right. Now you may recall that we had these placeholder tags for italics, bolds, and underlines. So like the first here, this was like we wrapped it around Q's just as a placeholder for our italics. Now we'd look like real idiots if we sold the book like this. So what we got to do, we got to come back and put the italics back into our Word document. And that's real easy to do. We use this thing called regular expressions. I do not know how this nerd stuff works. Don't worry about it. Just trust me, it works. So we're going to replace this weird text string, and then we're going to click More, use wildcards, okay? And then here in the replace with, we're going to hit /2 and then Control I. So it's basically going to replace the text that we originally had, and it's going to make it italicized. So you can kind of see it down here. See that? It made it the italics here. And we need to do the same thing for bolds and underlines. So here we go for bolds. Make sure you're off italics. Then you hit Control B for bold. Replace all. Okay. See, it added my bold text there that I wanted. And now I got to do the same thing for my underlines. And we just put it back in our placeholder tags and replace all. Okay. So we're good there. So we're looking at our document, right? And we want to make sure that we get like some fancy styles. Like the title should not be the same as the the text. That would just look stupid. So you might be tempted to go start messing around up here and playing with the different fonts, but we're going to stop. Do not go up here. Do not use this. Stay out of there. What we need to do is to go into our styles and start adjusting our styles in Word. And this will like guarantee that you pass the meat grinder. It's very important. So you click here. All right, and the first thing we're going to do, we're going to adjust our normal style. So you click on this little down arrow, modify. Okay. Now we want to use Times New Roman. The Smashwords Styles Guide says use Times New Roman, and I'm just going to use 12 point. They say anywhere between 12 and 16 should be fine. All right, and then make sure we're on left justify, and then we're not done yet. We got to go to format our paragraph. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to define a first line indent. Now, first line indent, that's usually what you see on works of fiction. Nonfiction might be block paragraph, and we'll define that later. But this is a first line indent, so I'm going to go first line 0.25. The spacing here, it should be 0, and this should be single. Okay. and that should be blank. Don't mess with that. Apparently it really screws up the meat grinder. So we're going to click OK. OK, and you'll see that our entire text is now one big first line indent. So that's good. Now we don't want everything to be first line indented, like the chapter headings, the author notes. We don't necessarily want that like first line indent. So what we can do, we can define our own block style. We're going to define a block style indent. So what we do is we click down here. It's called New Style. We're going to call it block just to keep it simple. You can call it whatever the hell you want. I'm going to state times 12 automatic left style. Okay, and then we're going to go to format, paragraph, and then we're going to turn off this special thing. Just click it to none, so that should go blank. And then this spacing over here, this is like the spacing in between paragraphs. So I'm going to want that to be a 10. So since it's after, after every block style paragraph, it's going to insert a space below. In my line spacing, I like to keep that single. I don't know. Some people like to keep like a space in between their eyes. I think it looks silly, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to click OK. OK, and you'll see I just changed this paragraph to a block style. See how it doesn't have the indent there? So that's real nice. One thing we want to do, we want to adjust our centered. We need to define a center. You might want to go up here, but like I said, stay out of there. Don't go up there. What we need to do is create a new style just for like centered text, not for the headings. We'll get to those in a bit. We want to just create some centered text style. So we need to create a new style, and we're going to base it on the normal style, similar to what we did for blocks. So I'm going to click New Style. I'm going to call it Centered. I'm going to keep Times New Roman, 12 point left. I'm going to click on Centered. I'm going to click on Centered, and then I'm going to go check my my paragraph, and I don't want this first line indent stuff, right? I want it the same, almost like a block, but I'm going to do it a little different, where I put before and after 10 point. So what that's going to do, that's going to space out each centered paragraph with a little bit of margin. I think that looks real nice. It looks real nice for like section breaks and things like that. Okay, you see how that kind of switched down there? Now what we want to do is I've set my centered style, and I want to make like this is my section break in between a break in the chapter. So I just click on centered. Look at that, it put the space again, and you can adjust this however you want. I'm going to want to put like centered on my copyright material and things like that. Now my titles and my chapter headings, I've got to go in and alter what's called heading 2. And what we want to do here is heading 2. We want to make it Times New Roman, maybe make it 14 point, bold, not italicized, make it in the center. And then we're going to go into here and double check these settings. Now, obviously we don't want the first line indent, but we do want maybe like a nice 14 point in between, the heading. That'll give it a nice space from the top, but you can feel free to mess with that. Alright. So I click on here, and I can adjust my styles over here. So there we go. And like I'm going down to like chapter 1. I'm going like that. All right. Now this is like the title of my chapter. Now I could just click on heading 2, but then I'd have 2 headings, and that's going to mess up the table of contents. If you don't understand why, don't worry about it. We'll talk about it in a later part of the thing. But what you could do is either put it all up here on 1, or alternatively you can hit Shift and Enter. Shift and Enter. And what that does, that makes like a nice heading. And you can see the heading leaves this little square up here. That's what we want to see. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each of our headings and make sure they're all cleaned up. And this is a bit time consuming, but it's totally worth it. And when you alter styles, sometimes it's best I click in like the middle of the text, and then I click on the style. Or else you run into problems, say like I'm going down, I want to like do my chapter 3 or whatever, and I come up here and I try to select it, but I accidentally select like part of this text or something, and then I hit heading, and oh my god, it looks like totally screwed up. But if you screw it up, don't worry, just hit Control Z, you'll be back to square one. So I just click like in the middle, like this. I click in like the middle of my text, and then I hit like heading 2, and that gives me a nice clean heading break. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all cleaned up. So I've gone through my manuscript and I've made sure it looks, you know, pretty much the way I want it. Like this is my title, and then you know I've got my my chapters. My chapters and my title are set to my heading 2 style. You know, everything's first line indent. These section breaks like this are set to the centered style. You know, I'm going through, and then I come down to the end here, and like I've got my like author notes. These are in block paragraph style. You can see it block over here. Like if I click on here, it's like in normal. If I click on here, it's in block. So that's pretty good. Now, you know, obviously we want to insert some page breaks. And the way the Meatgrinder reads page breaks, I don't know. It's like a total mystery. But like you can try and enter like page breaks. You know, you hit like enter once, and then you hit control enter for a page break. But then like it adds like a space here. I don't know, it's all screwed up. So you know, I started messing around, but like if you click here and you click enter a page break, like your heading font goes up to the page above it. It's just really frustrating. It's just it's awful. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set force page breaks at every heading, and there's a way to do that under here. If you click modify, format, paragraph, line and page breaks. We're going to click page break before. It's under pagination. I don't know what pagination means, but what that does, look, it's real nice. It forces page breaks every time there's a heading 2. Every time there's a heading 2, there's a page break, except for on the title page. So I think that's real nice, and I think that's just what our readers want. And this method does pass the Meatgrinder. Now you're going to want to go through and just make sure you did a little body work. Like right here I hit a, instead of just an enter, I hit a shift and enter because I wanted it right below the text on this blocks type indent. And you can just mess around with stuff like that. But don't go too crazy because you want to keep things pretty simple or it won't pass the Meatgrinder.